Okay, hello everybody. I thought I would do a live this morning. I didn't get a chance to do a video on Friday. I had oral surgery on Wednesday, and I haven't really felt like talking in front of a camera. So it's getting me kind of a little bit rough here. Hoping some people join us here in a little while. My primary plan was to talk about what I've been reading really quickly and just kind of leave it at that. But we will see how it's going. If you're here and you're in the chat, please say hello. Let me know you're here and get a few people to join in. I'll start talking about the books that I have been reading this week. Oral surgery wise, things went well. I had one wisdom tooth removed, which was broken. Um, Hi, Mark. How are you? Thanks for stopping in. Anyway, I had one wisdom tooth that was broken that needed to be extracted, and they did. And I was anticipating a much faster recovery than I have had. It's been a lot sorer than I thought. And hi, Elle. How are you? Thanks for stopping in. Um, it occurred to me, my wife reminded me that one reason why the recovery time might be longer than I had anticipated is that I'm older than most people are when they have a wisdom tooth extracted. But everything is going the right way and feeling pretty good. How are you guys doing? Hi, Ann. Good to see you. Good morning. Thanks for coming by. So I don't know how long we want to do this or how long we're going to go on. So let me just go ahead and start talking about books, and some of you have been nice enough to stop in and say hello. So the only book I finished this week is a nonfiction book called Zora and Langston, A Story of Friendship and Betrayal. This is a nonfiction book essentially about the end of the friendship between Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston. This is a buddy read I was doing with Stephanie Cohen, who is, a regular BookTube commenter and a great buddy reader. We've buddy read books before in the past. Hello, how are you? Angelia, is that right? I always struggle to remember your first name, and I'm sorry about that. But I hope that that's the right name. Good morning. I read that. I haven't talked to Stephanie about it this morning yet, so I'm not going to leave a whole lot of thoughts here. But it was really, it's the kind of book that I like. It's kind of focused on a little bit of biography and then a little bit of insight into one really specific, topic between these two people, which I think can oftentimes reveal quite a bit about those two historical figures. Oh, good. I'm glad I got it right. That's a good thing. Yes, it's very early here, Mark. Uh, I tried to start early so my dogs weren't fully awake because they will come in and cause a problem if not. Uh, can I make a video about Thomas Pynchon? I've really only read two Thomas Pynchon books, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure Thomas Pynchon is for me. Now, I will say that his book, Mason. Hey, Kieran, how are you? I will say his book, Mason and Dixon, I think is incredibly funny, and it's of the two. I've also read Gravity's Rainbow. Of the two, it's by far my favorite. It may have something to do with it being set in a period of American history, American colonial history, kind of revolving around the drawing of the Mason-Dixon line separating Pennsylvania from the territory of the colony of Maryland. So that probably has a lot to do with it. But I don't know enough about Pynchon to make a video about him. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I think I know why I don't get along with Pynchon, and that is that as I've gotten older, my desire to kind of be uh, puzzled by books has diminished. I don't mind, a book that makes me think, obviously, but and if you've seen any of my recent discussions of Cormac McCarthy, then you know that I've kind of lost patience with the intentionally obscure, the intentionally, references that have to be looked up. I just don't really enjoy that kind of thing now. And Pynchon feels that way to me. The two Pynchon books I read, Gravity's Rainbow and Mason Dixon, I read decades ago when I was much younger, and that was much more my thing. but I never then really felt like picking up any of the other Pynchon books, in part because I thought those two were really enough. Um, so um, so yeah, that the whoa, sorry, I knocked things over on my desk. That's what I get for having a messy desk and doing a lot. Um, Yeah, I don't go live very often, very at all. So this is only actually my second live. I kind of like it as a Saturday hodgepodge solution because it kind of means that if I forget or I don't have much to talk about, we can just do it live and people give me lovely topics to talk about as we go along. Mark, I meant to ask you, how are the Phillies doing? I believe they lost to San Diego yesterday, but I don't know where they are in the standings. Uh, uh, the Astros won last night, beat Otani, which well didn't beat Otani, but they beat the Angels with Otani, so that was a good thing. Also, just as a topic, I'm missing a part of the Tour de France right now, which I really love. And yes, you can tell me all the stuff about doping, and I agree with you. You know, it is definitely a sport that has been ruined by doping and other kinds of things in terms of its integrity, but I still enjoy watching it. Particularly, there's an American who is leading in the King of the Mountains competition right now, and I'm anxious to see if he holds on to the polka dot jersey after today. But anyway, so I did finish Zora and Langston, which was good. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully things will straighten out. I kind of become, thanks to you, I've kind of become a secondary Phillies fan, I guess. Since they're in the National League, it doesn't uh, hurt my Astros fandom at all. And maybe my Astros fandom explains why why I have a higher tolerance for cheating in sports. Anyway, um, so the other book, two books I've been reading, actually, the three other books I've reading, I haven't been able to focus or concentrate on just reading one. I did start reading Sophie's Choice by William Styron. It occurred to me that of all the kind of, or of many of the American authors who have faded from memory relatively quickly. You know, I did a video about Updike not too long ago. Styron probably has faded from memory even faster. And I'd read Tidewater Mornings, which is a collection of kind of short stories by Styron that was among the last fiction he published. And I thought, well, I should read William Styron. I have a bind up of two of his novellas, and I was able to get Sophie's Choice through the Libby app and read it on my Kindle. I haven't read Commander in Chief about Trump and the golf playing prohibit things about U.S. presidents, but I think that would be kind of funny and interesting. Maybe I'll try that for August. I hate to call it garbage but August is August. So, hi, Sina, how are you? Oh, thanks, El. So now I really do kind of think about wanting to read Commander in Chief. Maybe that'll change my perspective on some presidents. Um, Your opinions about Sebald are quite similar to mine. His prose is so beautiful. I really do. Uh, I really do love Sebald's writing, and even though he definitely falls under the heading of a writer who writes books that I don't fully understand, I still really do enjoy them both for kind of the style, the pictures, the way he kind of has this sort of nebulous narrator kind of thing, I think, going. Um, so yeah, I would do a video about Sebald if I felt like I understood him better. I think I have a video about uh, the biography of Sebald that I read, but is that any video books you don't quite understand? I don't think I did. I can't remember now. Oh, I do have a Sebald novel. The Vertigo is one of the novels, Sebald novels I have in um, my video about books I love but didn't understand. And that probably comes more to the heading of an author I love who I don't understand all their books. But yeah, there is that. So the Siren book, I've been reading Sophie's Choice, and it is not at all what I thought it would be. Um, and in some ways, I think that. I'm a little disappointed in the way the book is set up, and because it's not what I expected. It's because Sophie's Choice is not what I expected, being not as straightforward as I thought it would be. It's been kind of a bit of a slog. I'm on about page 90 at this point right now. Uh, Vertigo, I think, Mark, you will be the one and seeing you too will really be the one who that appeals to the most, because I think, as I think I said in that video, it's the one which makes the most reference to Kafka, and is most closely related to Kafka, I believe. Oh, hi, Amy. How are you? Good to see you. Um, so, so the Styron's going kind of slowly. I've just kind of hit the point where we finally met Sophie after, I don't know, 50 or 60 pages of setting up our main character, our narrator. And so that seems like it's going to go better. I also did actually start reading this book, which is Everybody Was So Young, Gerald and Sarah Murphy, A Lost Generation Love Story. If you watch my channel or anything, you know that I'm kind of a Lost Generation reader. That's kind of where I really fell in love with um, reading with Hemingway and Faulkner and Fitzgerald, and the standard canon of American literary greats in the kind of the modernist period. And so this book is about the Murphys, or who essentially were just a relatively wealthy couple or family who knew all those people and oftentimes entertained them at their homes. And so I read I read the introduction finally, and it really was appealing. And so I'm looking forward to getting to that relatively quickly too. Oh, you don't remember the book at all? That doesn't speak very well for Sophie's Choice for me. Yes, Styron also wrote a book about depression called Darkness Visible, I believe, which I've had at various times through the Libby app on my Kindle, but I've never gotten around to reading. But I do plan on doing that. I would like to read most of Styron sometime before the end of the year. Uh, in part because I'm interested, in part because I think I would like to do a video about Styron at some point. Hi, Claire. Uh, oh, so where to start with Faulkner? Let's see. What did I say in the video I made a long time ago? Um, Probably the most commonplace people tell you. Well, what I'll tell you is where to start with Faulkner is it depends on, do you want to read the stream of consciousness Faulkner that people, think of as, William Faulkner at his best, or you just want an introduction kind of into the man's kind of style and the way in which he wrote and the topics that he covered. So if you're interested in the, Faulkner that is kind of stream of consciousness, and the more challenging Faulkner, the place to start, I think, is As I Lay Dying. Um, That'll get you an introduction to the way he does stream of consciousness, even though it's more complicated in some ways in As I Lay Dying than it is in others. But I think that would get you into that. If you want to start somewhere else and not with kind of the stream of consciousness, more complicated Faulkner, probably I usually recommend something like oh, you could read the first book in the Snopes trilogy, which is the Hamlet, which will give you an introduction to Faulkner, and there are actually funny bits in that as well as tragic bits. You could read, let's see, The Unvanquished is a place to start if you're interested in kind of Faulkner's view on the South and its history. If you're looking for a really great Faulkner, which is not strictly speaking stream of consciousness, but can be challenging, then Light in August would be where I started. I think my favorite Faulkner book is The Sound and the Fury, which I've read several times. And this year's Faulkner in August is actually Absalom, which I think is the considered to be Faulkner's greatest book and probably his most difficult book to understand. And I would kind of definitely second that. While you're reading Ulysses, I have read that twice, and again, it's not a book I think I want to take on again anytime soon, because I'm just a little bit impatient with the idea of trying to figure things out as I go. And there's a whole lot there. But I did read it and I did enjoy it, but I didn't obsess about picking up on every single thing in the book. And I just kind of just kept going through the parts that I didn't fully understand. I have no plans of reading Peter Handke, but for no reason other than he's just not an author that I think about. But if you have a recommendation, I'd be happy to see it and know about it, and kind of put it in the mental files about books I might want to read at some point. Oh, here comes Zelda. So hopefully we don't get any dog noise. But anyway, Everybody Was So Young starts off promisingly, and it seems like a book I'm interested in. And here in July, I've been really kind of concentrating on and thinking about reading more nonfiction than fiction. And then the other book I'm reading at this time is As We've Always Done by Leanne Bedasamasake Simpson. This is a nonfiction book. Essentially, it's kind of I don't want to call it a manifesto because that makes it sound too strident. Yeah, I thought I'd remembered that Hankey had been kind of, you know, I hate to use the word cancel because you know how I feel about it, but had been kind of become persona non grata, as you said, because of his political views. But that didn't have anything to do with why I haven't read him. Again, it's just not an author I thought about. But this book is essentially a political book um, about ways in which Indigenous Americans, Simpson lives in Canada, but would apply to the United States as well, can organize themselves using traditional ideas and thoughts and traditional practice and intellectual practice as a form of resistance. And I'm surprised. I read 70 pages of this yesterday, and I thought this would be really heavy going, but it has been really enjoyable for me to read. If you don't know, Simpson wrote one of my favorite books a couple years ago, which was Newcoming, which I just thought was brilliant. I read it and I immediately reread it. I think it was my number one book of the year, not last year, but maybe 2 years ago. And in lots of ways, what really is interesting about this book is that it essentially kind of explains, without attempting to explain, some of the ideas behind Newcoming. And so this has been really enjoyable for a political kind of, here's how we do this kind of book, or here's what's important kind of book. I really, really have been enjoying it. Um, I hope you like Newcoming. Now, I will say, see, I hope you like Newcoming because, and I will say, it's not a book to do as an audiobook. It's a book I think you have to physically read. You'd probably read it electronically, but I would not listen to it. Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot had listened to it, and he didn't like it at all. And I don't think it's the kind of book that um, can be listened to. I think you have to read it to kind of experience the way the words appear on the page and things go like that. Uh, let's look at boycotting, not to say canceling, not to say censoring the author. Yeah, I have fairly strong opinions about things and political things that are in books, but I'm not for censorship of anything really. And so, if Hankey can publish and has a readership, that's fine. Like I said, I'm not personally boycotting him or anything like that. It's just not an author that I think about very often. Yeah, and I can highly recommend Newcoming to every single person. Uh, right, you don't have to read Handke either. So the same token, um, it's certainly not an author that has to be read, and I certainly not an author I'm necessarily thinking about reading. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm reading right now. If you know, I've been doing like shameless self promotions as well recently. Yes, Elle, I think that is exactly right. It's the more of it you can read at once, the better it works. I couldn't, because I'm a slow reader. I could never uh, get through it all in one go. But the more of it you can read at once, the more the way in which it's organized and written and the ideas kind of work on you. Hi, Mary. How are you? Which Faulkner books were drawn from to write the script for the movie The Long Hot Summer? I think The Long Hot Summer was, oh my goodness, I used to know the answer to this question. I think The Long Hot Summer is in some ways drawn from the Snopes books, probably, if I had to guess, either The Town or The Mansion, or The Town and the Mansion would be what I guess, but I'm not 100% positive about that answer to you. So hi, Charlotte. How are you? Thanks for dropping by. Great to have you here while I ramble about things I may or may not be reading. So I did finally get my copy of the Stygian Collection and short story collection, both, booktube, authortube authors, many of whom you would know. And I have a short story in here. So I've been also looking forward to reading that. And that was fun to get in the mail yesterday. So that's pretty much what I have been reading. And like I said, not a whole lot else has been going on. Oh, so authors in the Stygian collection that you might know, Margaret Bernard is has a story in here, and let's see, of the people I knew, uh, Mr. Morningstar, Jeremy Fee, Alan has some poems in here. I don't know if you follow Samantha Green. Let's see, who else did I recognize? I think that's who I recognize right now. Some of the rest you might recognize more. But anyway, I think my story is easily the shortest one in the book. And I was laughing. My wife read it yesterday. This it's not something. It's not something that I don't necessarily share my writing with my wife very often, and so this story is not something she read before, but she read it yesterday, and I think that I'm not sure that it's entirely clear, but I'm proud of having it in there. Um, oh, thank you for the congratulations. I have not read Mark's newest book. For some reason, when I try to order it, my order doesn't seem to go through. So I'm going to try it again because I definitely want to read it. I think that would be my third of Mark's novels that I would have read. And then he was nice enough to send me a collection of his flash fiction, which I've read from also. Good morning. Hopefully, we'll proceed in a soberly fashion. Um, Mark, let me try again. I think it might have something to do with PayPal or my credit card being processed internationally, something like that. But I will definitely look into getting a copy. I thought I had one on the way, like way back in March. Matter of fact, I think I mentioned to you that I'd ordered it, but it never came. And then when I checked my PayPal account, I was never charged for it. And I tried to do it again just recently, and the same thing happened. This may just be, an oldish man and technology problem, maybe Gen X technology fall through. But I will definitely look into that. And thank you, Sina. If not, I will send an email. But anyway, yeah, I definitely do want to read it. That's good to know, Mark, that your wife doesn't read your books or what you write either. That kind of makes me feel better. I often wondered about that. How many spouses read what their partner creates or writes? I wonder this about not just writing, but generally speaking about everything. I know in our professional lives, my wife was a school principal, and she would tell me things about happening today, and I was interested, but it never occurred to me to necessarily really look into all she did until I worked at her school last year, or the next to last year that she worked. I worked at her school as a tutor, and I really learned a whole lot about what an amazing person she is in her work life. I knew that obviously in personal life, but that was really kind of eye opening, and I wish I'd done more of that before. Yeah, none of my family members, except my sister, actually watch or pay any attention to my BookTube channel or any of that stuff. So apparently, maybe it's just too much, insight into the person you're with, or maybe um, I don't know what it is, but and I'm sure it's not 100% the true common across all people, but nice to know that my mom, I think has read the book I published many, many years ago, and she proofread, not proofread, but she did read the manuscript of the book that I'm working on right now. I have never had Well, now my book channel, I've never had anybody that I know who lives, in the community I live in, tell me they've seen my booktube videos. When I started on YouTube, I had a fishing channel where I went bass fishing quite a lot, and my students watched my fishing videos all the time, and that was a little odd. But it made me have to make sure I was from a professional point of view, that I was not being inappropriate in the videos. Not that I would have necessarily, but I edited out any kind of curse words or things like that. It ended up so that my kids didn't, come to school saying, "Hey, this is, I heard you say this in your channel the other day." So right now, Mark, I'd finished the manuscript of the military history. I'd finished it in January. I sent it to a publisher in I sent it to a publisher in January that would be like, this is the publisher that I would be kind of the one I'm would be like the publisher I would want to publish the book the most, because it's a military history book. It's kind of specialized. And initially, I got a rejection, and then I was contacted while I was actually in Scotland in March. I was contacted by an editor who suggested that if I reworked it or reorganized it and maybe found a way to make it longer, that there might be some interest. So what I've been doing since then is reorganizing it. And I have the reorganization done. Um, and I have found a new source to kind of make the book longer to fit, I guess, their editorial standards. And I was just contacted, or was in contact with that editor again, and she's planning on taking my book to a production meeting. So we'll see how it goes from there. So that's kind of where it is with that. And so I still have quite a bit of work to do to get the citations right, and to make sure that all the new information and the reorganization is coherent and there's not repetition. But pretty good news. I've been pretty happy and optimistic about that. So, yep. Anybody got anything else? I literally, like, Wednesday, I'll tell you my having my tooth pulled story. So Wednesday, I went in to have this wisdom tooth pulled, and I'm not a tough guy. So any anesthesia they can give me, I'm all for it. I know my sister had one of her wisdom teeth pulled without anesthesia, and I'm not into that. So I went in. They finally got around to to getting me ready to pull the tooth, and they gave me the anesthesia, and the doctor was talking about how good the medicine was, and how it was going to work out really well for me. And he asked me at one point, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I think I feel pretty normal." And then I don't remember anything except pressure and someone telling me I had to breathe. So and then the tooth was out, and I was ready to go home. I assume I was out for much longer than I thought, and that there are all kinds of holes in my memory, but in the memory I have of it, it was, really quick and relatively painless. I don't know, Mark. I kind of like this as a new way to do Saturday Hodgepodge. I like doing the Saturday Hodgepodge when I have something to talk about, and and but sometimes I feel like it's a bit forced, and that the format's gone a little stale. So this is a good way to kind of maybe freshen that up and do things a little bit differently. It is really late in life to have a wisdom tooth extracted. So to go more into my dental history, I had I wore braces when I was younger, and that was because I had a permanent tooth on the bottom knocked out playing football. And so they just pulled my teeth together, which made extra room on the bottom for my wisdom teeth, and I had plenty of room on the top. So they came in and they didn't cause me any problems. So I never had them pulled, but this one broke, and so it had to come out. Some recs for books on history or American wars. I tell you what, I was thinking, I did a video last week, actually I filmed it on Tuesday of last week, about 5 books I would recommend. I recommend most often. I was already thinking about doing that for nonfiction, and then for history. And maybe if I can find 5 books about American history that I recommend all the time, I would do that. So that's not a very good idea. Thank you for that, Big Shiva. I appreciate that. Yeah, Joe, what I would say is that if they're giving you trouble and you want to have them out, don't wait till you're 55 because, like I said, the recovery has been, you just don't heal as fast when you're older. Uh, so that's what I would say. And I'm planning on keeping my other three. I have a theory about going to the dentist that you go to the dentist when there's a problem. And if you're maintaining your teeth on your own, you don't necessarily have to go to the dentist. So there you go. 31. That sounds completely reasonable to me at 55, who just had the first one out. And I was talking to my wife. I said, if that tooth hadn't broken, I would still have it. There would be no way I would have gone in just to get it pulled. See, now, yeah, I think that's the way to do it if you're young. Honestly, I think if I tried to have more than one done or had them all done now, I would have been, I'd still be laying in the bed for like another week and a half trying to get over it. So, yeah, if you're young enough, I definitely think if that's the way to go, if they're going to cause you a problem. Hey, there you go, Mark. They took out four others instead. Well, there you go. I did have, well, like I said, I've never had another tooth extracted, a permanent tooth extracted. I did have one taken out when I was a kid, and then one knocked out. Yeah, that's definitely wise, Cena, and I'm not a wise person, and I do hate the dentist, so it may have something to do with my attitude. I didn't get ice cream. I did have two huge smoothies the last 2 days from Tropical Smoothie Cafe, which is located really near my house, so it's kind of like ice cream. Um, yeah, I haven't had my tonsils out either. I've never had surgery or anything like that. Yeah, those are the anesthesia they have. Those drugs work really well at putting me out and keeping me out. Thank goodness, because I do have memory of weird noises and pressure and things like that. Was there a tonsil policy that you were supposed to have them out? I don't remember. Like I said, I never have. Yeah, that also probably, as a matter of fact, the doctor suggested I have one of the ones on the top right above the one I had taken out, pulled, and I was like, "Nope, I'm not doing it." It's not there was a cavity or anything wrong with it. He just said it was going to drift. Yeah, the triple berry oat smoothie is just really really delicious. And it's kind of a meal replacement smoothie, so it worked out pretty good. Oh, the ice cream for the tonsils. Now I get it. Yeah, well, that's true. That's in TV shows. I always thought that would be a bad idea to put dairy on, stitches, but apparently that doesn't matter, and that's just my kind of weird paranoia about dairy products and open wounds. Oh, no. Selva's gone to sleep back there in the chair. You can't see her because she's black and the chair's black. Anyway, um, next political commentary video. It just depends on when I get enough. And what I've been trying to do is stay off of social media and not pay attention to right wing social media, which is kind of like a hobby for me for the last 5 years, because it does get me really frustrated and angry. So there will doubtless be another political commentary video at some point, but I don't have one in the works. Those just kind of have a tendency to come to me as world events, or actually usually it's just events here in the United States seem to come up. Yeah, I would love to have the dogs in the videos more often, but they bark too much. Does the U.S. have celebrity scandals, which not political stories off the news? We've had two in a month here in the UK. I don't know. I don't pay any attention to celebrity scandals. I know there's one involving what's his name, the kid from 21, the remake of 21 Jump Street, and he's in oh shoot, he's in the baseball movie about the Bill James book, Jonah Hill. Yeah, there's been one about Jonah Hill and his attempt to control his girlfriend, who's a surfer, and prevent her from posting pictures of herself in a swimsuit. using, psychological stuff he's learned. Um, Hang on, dogs are barking. I feel my wife is going to corral them, put them outside. So that's the only one I thought of. And I guess that's made some kind of a dent. But Trump is a nonstop nightmare. He posts stuff on True Social every day. He's under investigation by about 100 different grand juries. It feels like, and being indicted for things. So that's just the way things go. You had surgery on your jaw at one time and had my upper and lower teeth attacked for a month. I could only drink through oh my goodness, that sounds terrible. I'm glad that didn't happen to me. My son had to have something done where they had to build up some of his teeth. So he had these huge like things built up on his teeth, and he couldn't like eat solid food for like 6 weeks. My son, by the way, has had just the absolute worst luck with all kinds of things. He suffered a football injury, which basically meant his shoulder had to be surgically repaired, and he had to go around the last few weeks of his senior year in high school. He had to go around with his arm in a brace, which made his arm stick out like that. Um, and when we went to visit colleges, he walked around with his arm like that. Um, so anyway, but he had to do something similar to that. Let's see. I'm sure the dogs barking do bother me more than other people. Are my dogs scared of storms? The big dog, Zelda, the Great Dane, is terrified of storms, but she doesn't cry or anything. She just gets really worried looking. And my little dog, my smaller dog, Ike, he's about 15 years old now, and he can't hear. He can feel the rumble of storms, but he was also astray during when Hurricane Ike hit Galveston, and he was living on Galveston Island at the time. And so he survived a hurricane outdoors by himself. So there's not a lot that scares Ike. He's a pretty tough old dog. But the dog we had before Zelda, the Great Dane, yellow lab named Hank, he was terrified of storms. He would literally come and sit, like try to get on your lap, even though he weighed like 90 pounds, or he would come and lay on top of us at night if there was a storm at night. So yeah, we do have some medicine for Ike for his nervous habits. He does kind of get worked up. I think that's a byproduct of being primarily some kind of a herding dog that is pretty high strung. So we call them weed pills. They have some kind of CBD oil in them or some kind of medical marijuana in them, which calms him right down when we have to give them to him. But that's been less and less of an issue as his hearing's gotten worse and worse. Because I'm gonna go for about, I don't know, 3 to 8 more minutes. If you have any other questions or anything I just want to talk about, like I said, when I was talking about Saturday Hodgepodge stuff, yeah, he is. It's great when we give it to him. We try not to very often because, well, it just seems kind of mean just to drug our dog to make our lives easier. But he does get fairly calm and euphoric when he takes his weed pills, which is what we call. That's not the official name, but that's definitely what we call them. The other weird thing is that the dog treats we give our dogs, we call them crack. Because the dogs love them so much and we're addicted to them. We just started calling them dog crack. So we have like crack and weed for our dogs. Now it makes it sound like somebody who just tuned in or just logged on now thinks I'm giving my dog actual crack and weed. I don't know what Steve Donahue would approve of my treatment of my dogs or not. I'm going to guess he would be in favor because he's pro dog, and anything that makes a dog's life better, weed, crack treats, probably he would be perfectly in favor of. Oh, there's Ike. He just walked by in the background there. Sure, it was great to see you. Thanks for all the suggestions. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming by. Like I said, I'm not trying to make this go longer than it has to go, but I don't want to seem rude to people who showed up and asked questions. But we're around 40 minutes, and so I've kind of talked about most of the stuff I want to talk about. So unless somebody has another question, I'm going to kind of sign off here in the next, I don't know, minute or so, I think. Oh, there you go, Caitlin. Just in time for the crack and weed comment about the dog. Those are my dog treats. I have weed pills for my dog to calm him down, and then we just call their treats crack. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Cena. It was great to get to talk to y'all today. I really do appreciate that. Anyway, Caitlin, sorry you caught me right here at the end, but I think I'm gonna end the stream now and say thank you to everybody again for stopping by the Saturday Hodgepodge Live. Thanks, guys.